and Community National Bank. More info at centralvtjobfair.com.
The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to wdev@radiovermont.com.
The teams you care about.
The Patriots are now closer to the bottom of the AFC than the top. That's a fact.
The stories that matter to you.
Trevor Story, man, he makes the Red Sox much, much better in 2022.
This is your home for New England sports.
I'm just wondering what happens next for UVM, because I think there could be a lot of turnover on that roster.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Brady Farkas Show on a Friday right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Full show, all 90 minutes, right up until 7 o'clock. Red Sox take on the Rangers in Arlington. First pitch just after 8, so our pregame show is just after 7. So, yeah, that full 90 minutes. I'll tell you in the 6 o'clock hour about my day on the gun range with the Vermont National Guard. With a little fraction of a bit better than last year. It was a lot of fun, though. I'll tell you about it in the 6 o'clock hour. Zack, Patriots insider over at NESN, will be with us in about 15 minutes to talk Patriots schedule release, some thoughts on the Celtics as well, and also maybe the dumbest question in the history of Red Sox Yankees. Maybe the dumbest question in history by a guy who I actually really like and think is really smart. So I don't quite get it. We'll tell you what that is at the end of the show. You can get in on the Napa-Morrisville, Napa-Waterbury text line, 802-585-3026. Your locally owned Napa stores in Waterbury and Morrisville. You can also get in on the brand new Facebook Live, YouTube Live video streams, and my Twitter account as well. Everybody, let's waste no time.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
Opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center. Locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. Guys, let me just hear it. Yes, I love when the football music comes even in non-football season. Patriots schedule released yesterday. Let's just get to some of what we noticed right off the top. I told you yesterday there were things that I look for in the schedule release. Let's see how those things played out. Number 1, the Patriots bye week is week 10. I am all for that. This is what the players look at first. That's how important it is. I've started looking at that first as well. I told you if the bye week came anywhere between weeks 8 and weeks 10, that would be good. Before week 8, that's too early, and you're kind of dragging at the end of the season. After week 10, or before week 8 is too early, I should say. After week 10, that's too late, and you're just kind of limping into your bye week. Week 10 is good. I'm happy about that. It gives you chances on both sides of the bye to get healthy, both sides of the bye to get yourself right. You've basically split your season into 2 halves, which is exactly what you'd prefer. I don't want a week 4 bye week. I don't want a week 14 bye week, okay? Week 4 bye weeks, I'm like, not enough has happened to me at that point yet, and it's disrupted my flow. Week 14, I might just be, like I said, limping into the bye week, and everything has happened to me. Week 10, this gives me a chance to perfectly utilize the bye week in all facets. Basically, my season is almost perfectly bisected. I'm all for that. Number 2 on the Patriots schedule takeaways. The Patriots have, count them, 5 primetime games scheduled and potentially a 6th. The Patriots get 2 Monday night games. One is at home against the Bears. One is on the road against the Cardinals. They get a Sunday night game at home late in the year against the Raiders. They get 2 Thursday night games, including the one against the Vikings on Thanksgiving, and their scheduled one against the Bills, which is at home. So there's 5 scheduled primetime games, and their Week 18 game against Buffalo has a to be determined next to it. Clearly, The NFL thinks higher of the Patriots than I do because the NFL keeps putting the Patriots in prime time. They still think they're a draw. I think part of it is that the Patriots present unique storylines, but also I think that the NFL is banking on the Patriots still being good, really better than I think they're going to be. You have the McDaniels reunion story scheduled for Week 15, the McDaniels against Belichick game, so that's a primetime game. You have Mac Jones against Justin Fields, two quarterbacks drafted from the same class. That's a storyline, but clearly it's more than just storylines. Clearly the league thinks the Patriots will be good. They've put them on Thanksgiving. They're magnifying potentially both of the Patriots-Bills games. We thought the Patriots would crater in marketability when Tom Brady left. That has not been the case. Takeaway number 3 from the Patriots schedule release. I think the Patriots got a huge break when it comes to Thursday night football. I always look at the schedule and see how your Thursday night game is sequenced. Well, the Patriots get to play on Thursday twice, but I actually think they get a big favor here, right? So Thanksgiving, Week 12 at Minnesota, Week 13, Thursday night at home against Buffalo. The Patriots get a full week to get healthy and prepare for the division rival Bills. So they go Thursday to Thursday there, which is huge. Maybe the biggest game of the year for them. They get a full week to prepare for. Heading into that Thanksgiving game, the Patriots get the Jets. Your biggest fear is that you're going to get a really hard game on Sunday and a really hard game on Thursday, and you're going to end up going 0-2 in a span of 5 days. I don't think that's going to be the case here. Patriots play the Jets on Sunday, a very winnable game in Week 11. Then they get Thursday against Minnesota. They certainly could lose that game, but they'd go 1-1 in that stretch potentially. And then they get the full week to prepare for Buffalo, and I think that is massive. Last thing I want to do is face the Bills when I'm banged up and not really ready to prepare. Now I've got a full week to prepare. I think that the schedule makers did the Patriots a big favor. And then don't ignore this. When the Patriots play Buffalo in that Thursday night game, they're going to get the next week's game on Monday night against Arizona. So they get the full week to prepare for Buffalo. Then they get the extended mini bye to play Arizona on Monday Night Football. I think that the schedule makers did the Patriots a huge favor in this regard. Takeaway number 4. Patriots do have it hard when it comes to tough weather games. They play in Miami in the heat early, and then late in the season, last week, they play in Buffalo. That's a tough break because you get it on both sides. You get the heat early. You get the potential snow and wind late. Not that playing in Foxborough on January 8th is any picnic, but playing in Buffalo, it could be very tough, unless it actually slows the Bills down and it works to your benefit. But weather will play an impact in this season. Beginning of the year in Miami, end of the year in Buffalo. It is an oddity, I think. Patriots start the year on the road, they end the year on the road. They get 2 games in a row to start the season on the road. They ended in Buffalo on the road, too. We've got more stuff on the Patriots schedule coming later in the show also. But all in all, I think that this plays a lot like last year. If you look at the schedule and start to kind of forecast what's going to happen, I think this Patriots schedule plays a lot like it did last season. And what I mean is this. Patriots season starts out hard. It ends difficult. And there is a soft spot in the middle. If the Patriots are going to play well this season, they're going to have to own the middle portion of their schedule because they start out on the road at Miami, a team that beat them twice last year and got better. Then they go to Pittsburgh, who we don't know how they'll be. Come home for Baltimore. That's a tough game. Then on the road at Green Bay. So your first 4 games, 3 of 4 are on the road. You very easily could be 1-3, just like you were last year in that 4-game stretch. Then you've got a period in the middle where you've got to take advantage. That's the soft spot of your schedule. The last 6 weeks are filled with tough teams, long road trips, and oddities and peculiarities, right? Play on Thanksgiving. Play on the following Thursday. Then you play on Monday. The Patriots have 4 primetime games in a row at the end of the season. They're going to play on Christmas Eve. They're going to play on New Year's Day. The end of the season's wonky. The middle of the year, that's where the Patriots have to make it count like they did last season. Patriots dominated. They cleaned up in the middle of the year. Now they've got to be able to do it again this year. Phil in Middlesex, he wants to yell at me about the Red Sox. Well, Phil, we'll get to the Red Sox in hour number 2. I promise you, 6:45 and on is dedicated to the Red Sox. So there you go. I want to continue on the Patriots schedule, right? This is like a holiday for me. I love schedule release day. We don't get to talk really any football from this point forward until about the beginning of July. Like, this is really kind of the end of football for us until the middle of July. I don't get in too much to OTAs and all that. Very minimally. I don't think there's a whole lot of info that comes out of OTAs very often. So there's not a lot to talk about. This is a day to talk about football. It's our last one for a while. Schedule release day. I've got some thoughts I just shared with you. What do the Pats experts think? Zack Cox, Patriots insider over at NESN. He's going to share his thoughts next right here on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM and FM, streaming at WDEVradio.com.
With all that has changed in our lives, J. Morgan Steakhouse remains a constant for offering comfort food, atmosphere, and a friendly face. As always, in-house cut steaks, fresh seafood, pastas, and daily specials continue to grace the menu. Call for a booth, belly up to the bar, or order takeout at jmorgansteakhouse.com. Open lunch and dinner Tuesday through Saturday. J. Morgan's, Vermont's cutting-edge steakhouse, State Street, Montpelier.
At Northfield Savings Bank, we celebrate the ways you work and why you work. To build a business, to make a brighter future, to do something that matters. You don't do just one thing in your business. Neither do we. Whatever your size, you have goals for yourself and those around you. Our commitment is helping you get there. Builders, makers, doers. Northfield Savings Bank. Find out more about us at nsbvt.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
There's a reason they've been dubbed man's best friend. The unconditional love of a dog can work wonders in the life of a human. In fact, it has been proven that canine companionship greatly improves the mental and physical well-being of children and adults of all ages. Therapy Dogs of Vermont is an all-volunteer, nonprofit organization of well-mannered, sweet-tempered, people-loving dogs and their handlers. Our teams visit children in hospitals, the elderly in nursing or retirement homes, and others in need who might gain from the positive benefits of unconditional love. Whatever the need, Therapy Dogs of Vermont are ready and wagging. Therapy Dogs of Vermont provides canine companionship services in Vermont, New Hampshire, and Canada. All dogs are owned by their handlers, certified and insured, and are tested to ensure outstanding temperaments, stable personalities, and most importantly, a great love for humans. The unconditional love of a dog can provide a great source of joy and comfort for anyone in need. For more information, visit therapydogs.org. That's therapydogs.org.
The world is a constantly changing place, and being informed has never been more important. This is Steve Kathan. WDEV, Vermont's news station, and CBS provide you with up-to-the-minute news and information. Whether it's top and bottom of the hour news, breaking news, or special events, if Vermonters need to know, you can trust that WDEV and CBS will inform you. WDEV, keeping an eye on Vermont, while CBS keeps an eye on the world.
The Brady Farkas Show now has an interactive text line, so reach out now at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEV Radio. PatriotSchedule.com. Patriots Schedule released yesterday. We've been talking about it. We'll continue to talk about it. And there's nobody better to talk about it with than our guy, Patriots Insider over at NESN, Zack Cox. Zack, happy off season, which was interrupted by yesterday's schedule festivities. So how are you?
I'm good, Brady. Thanks for having me. It's been a while.
Well, I appreciate you being back with us. Before we get to the schedule, I got to tell you my story for the day. I got into work late today because I went shooting with the Vermont National Guard, shooting something called an M4, which I have no business holding, nevertheless shooting. Have you ever been shooting, and are you a good marksman?
I have not, and I can't imagine that I would be. My hand-eye coordination isn't great, so I don't know how well I would fare on one of those.
I was 4 of 27, which was 9th out of 10 of the 10 people that shot.
Yeah, well, wasn't 10th.
I'll tell the full story here after the top of the 6 o'clock hour. But okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one whose marksman skills probably aren't very high. Let's get to the Patriots. For my money, the first observation I had is that their schedule kind of shapes up a lot like last year. Difficult at the beginning, difficult at the end, and there's a soft underbelly in the middle. Does it kind of feel that way to you?
I think so. I'd probably have the same read on that. It's a difficult start. I mean, you can easily see them dropping 3 of these first 4 games again this season with the opener in Miami, and then you get Lamar Jackson in week 3. You get Aaron Rodgers in week 4. So that's a difficult early stretch. And then the back end too, the basically after Thanksgiving, from Thanksgiving on, it's a really difficult final 6 or so games. And that was a big issue for the Patriots last season. They started slow. They finished slow. They were really good in the middle of the season, but then they kind of ended up sort of middle of the pack. But they do have that soft stretch in there, but it's honestly kind of hard to find any gimme games on this Patriots schedule. Maybe Detroit and maybe Cleveland if they don't have Deshaun Watson at that point. But I expect the Jets to be better at least this year. So looking at the schedule overall, you don't see too many, automatic wins there for the Patriots.
You know, I was just talking about this too. The Patriots have 5 primetime games, potentially a 6th with whatever happens with that Buffalo game at the end of the season. I thought when Tom Brady left, the Patriots were not supposed to be a draw anymore. Why do you think they're getting so much love nationally?
It's interesting, too, and it's interesting that they have those 4 right in a row from Thanksgiving on. So Thanksgiving and then the next 3 weeks, all 4 of those games in prime time. And that's really sort of crunch time stretch run of the season. So that, to me, says that the NFL schedule makers, at the very least, expect the Patriots to be competitive at that point in the season. They don't expect the Patriots to be far out of the playoff race to the point where nobody really cares to watch them, or at the very least, they're going to be remaining interesting that late into the season. And obviously things can change. They can flex games. They can move things around. But that tells me that the league has some confidence that even though a lot of the reviews of this Patriots offseason so far haven't been particularly positive, at least in comparison to some of these other teams in the AFC, the folks in the league office still do believe that this will be a team that is at least competing for the playoffs late in the year.
One of the oddities of the schedule to me, I believe that this has happened before, and it's minor, but I'm always amazed when I see it. Why are the Patriots playing the Raiders in the preseason and then also in the regular season? I would think that's something that the league and its coaches would want to avoid.
It's bizarre. And the fact that they're playing the Raiders at all in the preseason is really strange to me, just because they typically avoid those West Coast trips during that exhibition period, just because it's a hassle to fly all the way to the West Coast. You got to deal with the time change. You got to deal with kind of the extra travel time and all of that. Typically, you see the Patriots load up that schedule with East Coast games. It's a lot of Philly. It's a lot of Washington, Carolina, obviously the Giants, who they play every year in the preseason. And the fact that they're also playing them in the regular season isn't the biggest change. I don't think we have seen that before, especially when they've played the Giants during the regular season. True. But I mean, Bill Belichick just must have really wanted to have those joint practices with Josh McDaniels and the Raiders, which reportedly they are going to have before that preseason game. So really interesting and an odd shift, but I guess it's kind of cool that we'll see the Josh McDaniels Patriots reunion a lot sooner than a lot of us were expecting, especially because that game doesn't come until mid-December. I think it's the Monday before
week 15.
Christmas.
Week 15.
It's quite a while before we get the actual game, but it will be very interesting to see how all of that stuff mixes in the preseason.
We're talking with Zack Cox, Patriots Insider at NESN here on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Of all the road games, we're going to do this later in the show too. Which game are you most excited to travel to on the road?
I mean, Las Vegas is obviously going to be very interesting, both from a destination perspective and from a storyline perspective with Josh McDaniels and all the expatriates that are out there. But I'm excited to go to Lambeau. I've never been out there. That's really kind of an iconic setting, probably as iconic as any setting in the NFL. Patriots only go there once every 8 years, so that's going to be a pretty cool trip to make and a pretty cool destination to see. I'm sure you'll see a lot of Patriots fans will try to make that trek out to Wisconsin for that game. It'll be in September, so we won't get a full-blown frozen tundra, or October rather, early October. So yeah, not going to have the Green Bay conditions out there. But it'll definitely be good to get out there and see that stadium and those surroundings and everything.
Which storyline are you most excited for at home? The Joe Burrow comes to town for the first time, or Mac against Justin Fields on Monday Night Football?
I think Joe Burrow is going to be a lot more interesting just because the Bengals are a much better team, and the similarities between Mac Jones and Joe Burrow are really interesting to me. The potential similarities, if I remember writing about this during the playoffs last year, when the Patriots were eliminated and the Bengals were continuing on, the similarities you see both between Burrow and Jones at the college level and what they were able to do in their rookie seasons and overall their kind of skill sets. They're not identical. I think Joe Burrow is a little bit more athletic. He's got a little bit more of a running capability and probably has a little more, kind of gambler gunslinger to him. But if there was any quarterback that you could see Mac Jones potentially following that track, any of these young kind of stud quarterbacks, it is Joe Burrow. So it'll be very interesting to see how those guys match up on the field. And then also, the Fields matchup will be interesting too, just because those were the fourth and fifth quarterbacks from last year's really ballyhooed draft class. I don't think the Bears are going to be an especially good team this year, and that game is much earlier in the year than the Burrow one, and it'll be on Monday Night Football, so which will be very interesting to watch. But I'm excited to see Mac Jones, Joe Burrow. I wish they put that a little bit earlier in the schedule.
I'm with you. I think the back end of the Patriots schedule is really, really challenging. But I think the Pats did get kind of an interesting gift around their Thursday night game. So they play on Thanksgiving Thursday against Minnesota, but then they play Buffalo on Thursday. So they get the gift of getting the full week to prepare for Buffalo and get healthy. And then they get the kind of extra mini bye on the backside where they don't play Arizona until Monday. So kind of a weird scheduling thing there where the Pats get a Thursday game on full rest against a division rival and the extra day off on the backside too. We don't see that often.
Yeah, I actually looked it up. I don't think that's ever happened in Patriots history because they only started doing these Thursday games about 10 years ago. And looking back through, this is the first time they've ever played on Thursday night in back-to-back weeks. So that's going to be interesting from just a practice scheduling standpoint, how Bill Belichick and his staff are going to really structure those 2 weeks. But there are some benefits to it, as you mentioned. You obviously get the short week on the front end going into that Thanksgiving game, but then you get the full week of rest going into Buffalo. I don't know if the Patriots would have preferred to have the extra 3 or 4 days before the Buffalo game, if that game was on a Sunday or a Monday. But you do get a full week there, and then you get the jumbo week after that before you go to Arizona. And it does sound like the Patriots are most likely going to stay out west for a week after that Arizona game because they've got Arizona and then they have Vegas after that. So you'll probably see them stay either in Arizona or in Las Vegas or somewhere thereabouts, which they've done a lot in the past when they have those back-to-back West Coast games.
Off the schedule, what do you think is ultimately going to shake out in the Patriots offensive coordinator battle? We had it yesterday going around. There might be an open competition between Matt Patricia and Joe Judge for who's going to call plays. What do you think is going to happen here?
Yeah, I kind of have a hard time buying into the open competition thing just because Bill Belichick is such a prepared guy. I can't imagine him going into a preseason saying, hey, who knows? We'll see who let the best man win from a play calling perspective. I mean, maybe that is the case, and maybe he hasn't fully fleshed out how he wants to do it. Maybe it'll be some sort of a collaborative effort. I don't know. I think this is the single biggest question and the biggest variable facing this Patriots team right now this season, because you go from Josh McDaniels, who I know he caught some grief for some of his play calling last season and the last couple of years, but he's one of the best offensive minds in the NFL and certainly one of the most experienced in the system that he was in. And he leaves, takes a bunch of assistants with him, and now you're going into year 2 with your very promising rookie quarterback, and he's going to be working with a coaching staff that does not have a single assistant who has called offensive plays or a single assistant who has coached quarterbacks at the NFL level, coached quarterbacks directly as in a position coach. That's scary to me if I'm a Patriots fan.
Yeah.
That seems like a lot more uncertainty than Bill Belichick would typically like to have there. I'm still a little surprised that you didn't see someone like Bill O'Brien come in and fill that void. Especially interesting to hear. I think it was Mike Reese reported that Bill O'Brien was actually in Foxborough recently at some of those off-season workouts. Not exactly sure what he was doing there, but it seemed like kind of the obvious pick. And you're at such an important juncture in Mac Jones' development. You don't want to mess this kid up, really. You don't want to have him regress in year 2, because that can be really hard to undo. So I think this is a really important stretch for Mac Jones, and the Patriots really need to nail this from a coaching perspective. And coming in, it's pretty hard to kind of predict how that's going to go, just because we haven't seen any of these coaches do that before.
Zack Cox, Patriots insider over at NESN, breaking down the Pat's schedule and some other things with us here on the Brady Farkas Show on this Friday. Zack, thanks so much for the time as always. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy some semblance of an off season, and we'll catch up here in a bit, I'm sure.
Absolutely, Brady. Thanks as always.
Absolutely. I love having Zack Cox on, and one of the best on the Patriots beat. So interesting stuff on the schedule. Yeah, 4 consecutive primetime games, but also the Raiders playing them in the preseason and in the regular season. I don't quite get it. I don't get it. Now, to Zach's point, Bill Belichick must have really valued having those joint practices and stuff, but I'm of the mindset that I don't want to show my future opponents any more than I have to. Like, I don't need them to be, even though I get it, a lot of things are going to change between preseason and the time you see each other in week 15. I don't need to show anything. I don't think that they would want to show anything. So I didn't quite get that. We have seen it before, as Zach mentions, when they play the Giants every year and then take it into the regular season with the G-Men also. But so I don't love that. And then, on the whole offensive coordinator thing, I told you that months ago, didn't I? Like, not having an official offensive coordinator is going to be a big deal. You have nobody on your staff that has ever called plays before. You have nobody on your staff that has ever worked specifically with a quarterback before. This is like the year 1 to year 2 jump is huge for a quarterback. And Mac Jones right now is being put in a very, very disadvantageous situation. Like, he does have good players around him, but he's lost some of his offensive line, and now he's lost his offensive coordinator and his quarterback's coach. You cannot tell me that this is a good thing. LeGarrette Blount, who we had on a couple of weeks ago, do we have that clip? LeGarrette Blount said that this was a disaster waiting to happen, I believe. Like, his recipe for disaster. We have that, don't we? Oh, we do. Let's see. Yeah, okay.
That's huge. When it comes to offensive coordinators, Josh is. I feel like Josh is second to none. He's been in the last couple of years since Brady left. He's been in a position where he's having to try to switch things up offensively to fit the mold of whatever quarterback that he has, whether it's Cam or Mac Jones. And I think he does a really good job of that. I think it'll be hard for any quarterback that has had Josh as an offensive coordinator to go be with someone else, because it won't be the same.
Yeah, he also said that Joe Judge and Matt Patricia, this whole thing was a disaster waiting to happen. So it's going to be the number one storyline now moving forward to the rest of the offseason, right? The draft's behind us, the schedule's behind us. Number one on the storyline front is, what do the Patriots do at the offensive coordinator position, and how does this shake out? We don't like what we're hearing right now. How exactly does it play out? We will step aside, get the national news update from CBS News, and then I'll tell you about my day on the shooting range with the Vermont National Guard, and then we'll get to the Celtics, who they can shoot a little better than I did. That's next on WDEV.
This is WDEV, Vermont's news station, owned and operated by the Radio Vermont Group. From the top of Sugarbush, 96.1 FM, WDEV Warren and Waitsfield, 96.5 W243 Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, along with our founding station, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury Montpelier, streaming at WDEVradio.com. 90 years of serving Vermont, the friendly pioneer, WDEV.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Linda Kenyon in Washington. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin spoke with his Russian counterpart today. Here's CBS's Cami McCormick at the Pentagon.
It was the first time they've spoken since the February 24th invasion. A senior defense official says Austin urged an immediate ceasefire in Ukraine and emphasized the importance of maintaining lines of communication. The call, which was initiated by Austin, lasted about an hour. Austin has consistently sought to speak to the Russians, and the senior defense official says, "We hope this call will serve as a springboard for future conversations."
Texas Governor Greg Abbott calls President Biden reckless and out of touch for allowing migrant babies access to formula amid a nationwide formula shortage.
Abbott teamed up with the National Border Patrol Council in issuing this statement, saying President Biden has turned a blind eye to parents across America facing the baby formula shortage, but is happy to provide formula to illegal immigrants.
This is simply an effort to score cheap political points by Governor Abbott by attacking President Biden on immigration policy.
Rice University political scientist Mark Jones.
If the undocumented immigrants are in federal custody, then the U.S. federal government has a moral, ethical, and legal responsibility to provide formula.
Chris Fox for CBS News, Austin.
President Biden urging states to use funds from the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan to fight crime.
Use these funds we made available to you to prioritize public safety. Do it quickly before the summer when crime rates typically surge. Taking action today is going to save lives tomorrow.
The second allotment of money was released earlier this month. A former Tennessee nurse whose medication error killed a patient has been sentenced to probation.
The court therefore finds that judicial diversion is appropriate and will enter an order today placing the defendant on supervised probation for an effective period of 3 years.
Hundreds of healthcare workers rallied outside the Nashville courthouse during the sentencing of Redonda White. They decried any effort to criminalize honest hospital mistakes. Another arrest for popping party balloons and dumping them into a Florida bay.
Police say the woman arrested has been charged with willful disregard for the environment. The arrest comes 2 days after that of a man seen on the video as well. The balloons were on a yacht hired for an engagement party, and the man who hired the boat says he had no idea that the crew had popped the balloons and dropped them into Biscayne Bay until that video went viral. So far, the pair faced $25,000 in civil fines. Peter King, CBS News, Orlando.
An up day on Wall Street after a bumpy week. The Dow took back some losses, gaining 466 points. This is CBS News.
There's always something new under the sun. CBS Mornings, weekdays on CBS.
Folks, Dan and Rick the Kid here from Lamoille Valley Ford. Before we start, we want to thank our customers and congratulate our entire team for reaching our goal in the car, truck, and SUV challenge at Lamoille Valley Ford.
Folks, with a record start to the year, you can take it from me. It's all gas and no brakes at Lamoille Valley Ford. Check this out. Due to its huge success during the challenge, we've decided to extend our gas card offer for the month of May. With a purchase, lease, or custom order of any new or pre-owned vehicle in stock at Lamoille Valley Ford, you'll leave with a $500 gas card today. That's right, even on an order of a new Ford at Lamoille Valley Ford, you'll get a $500 gas card. That's huge. And right now, our inventory at Lamoille Valley Ford is massive with a huge selection of new Ford trucks, SUVs, and several of the all-new Ford Broncos on the lot and available. Plus, over $2 million in inventory of late model, low mileage, pre-owned vehicles, and we're ready to make deals.
Woo! So drive Route 14, 15, or 16 to Hardwick and Lamoille Valley Ford. Get a great deal on your new or pre-owned vehicle, plus a $500 gas card today at Lamoille Valley Ford. And remember, at Lamoille Valley Ford, we know price matters.
Now more than ever, Vermonters are eager to get out and about. And Vermont's outdoor recreation businesses and organizations are here to help. They build and maintain the trails we walk and ride. They grow and sell the local food that keeps us going and make and sell the gear that keeps us strong and safe.
The Vermont Community Loan Fund is here to help Vermont's outdoor rec industry with our new Trails Loan Program, supporting outdoor recreation and those who make it possible. Trails offers financing and free business resources to help Vermont's trailblazing outdoor rec community grow stronger and more sustainable, generating jobs and energizing our rural economy. The Vermont Community Loan Fund, for over 30 years, Vermont's nonprofit business lending partner. Learn more about Trails and our other business lending programs at investinvermont.org. That's investinvermont.org.
Think you know sports better than Brady does? Text in with your thoughts at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody. Brady Farkas Show here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Show brought to you in part by Pro Driver Training. That's Pro Driver Training, Vermont's premier truck driver training school, where they're online at ProDriverCDL.com. They can help you with your Class A CDL, your Class B CDL, passenger and advanced skills training as well. There's book work and there's real-life application of that book work. They're there to help you take the next step in your career. Reminder, Red Sox Baseball comes up at 7:05 with the pregame show from Arlington. I went shooting today at the range at Camp Ethan Allen with the Vermont National Guard. Let me explain why this happened. So the Vermont National Guard and the Vermont Association of Broadcasters are partners on a lot of different things. So once a year, the National Guard invites out broadcasters to take part kind of in a day in the life of a National Guards person. So today we were out in the shooting range and I was one of 10 people to go there. There was a mix of television personalities and radio personalities. There were certainly there were some people who were behind the scenes, some people who were front facing at companies, a lot of people that you know from all around the state. So that's why I got the opportunity to do this. Let's just say after today, it's pretty evident I'm not going to be recruited into the Army, into the National Guard, into any branch of military. Let's also establish the baseline. I am not a shooter. I've never gone hunting. I've never done any shooting for sport of any kind. I'm not against guns. I just didn't grow up doing it. I played baseball and basketball. I was more into the, quote, mainstream sports. So shooting, it's not my thing. I did do this last year. That was the only time I'd ever shot a gun before. This now remains, I've shot guns now twice, both at this same event back-to-back years. So I'm coming into this from a very low level of experience. A couple of takeaways from my shooting exhibition today. One, I had more fun than last year. Some things came easier to me than a year ago, but I still stunk, and I almost really, really hurt myself. Let's start there. I took about 27 shots. So I fired about 27 bullets. I hit 4 targets. Here's how it goes. There's 4 targets. There's targets all up and down the range from as little as 50 meters away to 300 meters away. So they can go very, very far. They just pop up and down like whack-a-mole. So it's not like you're standing in a confined area, you're shooting at a target with a bunch of circles, and I went 4 for 27. I went 4 for 27 shooting at whack-a-mole style, people, just torsos up from up to 300 meters away. So 27 shots taken, I hit 4 targets. That's a very low batting average. It was the second fewest targets hit out of the 10 people that were in our group. So clearly I was horrible. I was the second worst shooter there. The good news was that one of my hits was from about 150 meters out. So that was awesome. So I did hit a long range shot. The bad. Not only did I miss, I also didn't get all my shots off for the second consecutive year. I did not get all my shots off for the second straight year. You are allowed to get a maximum of 40 shots off. I got like 27. I was so focused on finding the targets, locating the targets, getting my, my little red dot on the targets. I was too slow. I had a hard time picking up the targets. I couldn't find them quick enough. Then when I did find them, I was too slow to try to kind of laser in on them. I did not get my shots off as fast as I would have wanted to. The same thing happened to me last year, although I think I got a couple of more off this year than I did last year. I was not the only one to not get off all their shots. I think a lot of people left, shots on the board per se, but my goal was to get all of them off, and I wasn't able to. I felt like it was very hard for me. I really felt my eyes bobbing up and down. It was hard for me to pick up the targets. I was standing up, but I was in an athletic position. Maybe I should have been kneeling. Maybe that allows for more stability, but I felt like my eyes were bobbing up and down. I just could not pick up the target easily. Another reason why it took me so long, once I did locate it, to kind of get in rhythm. So the good was I got a couple more shots off than last year. I hit a couple of targets. I hit a target from far out. The bad was pretty much everything else. Couldn't pick up the target easily. Didn't get all my shots off. Had a low hit rate. Finished 9th out of 10th. One other good thing for me was I had a much easier time reloading this year. Our magazines only had 10 bullets in them. So basically, you've started with 10, then you'd have to change it out, go to the next 10, change it out, go to the next 10. If you got through the rest, change it out, go to the 40, the ones that would take you through shots 31 through 40. So I had to change magazines multiple times. It was much easier this year than last year. Last year, I remember that being very foreign to me, where okay, where's the button to empty the magazine? Now I got to grab the new magazine. Now I got to put it up. Now I got to bring the chamber back to get everything going again. It happened much quicker for me this year. We also were in full gear this year. Last year, I got to assume because of COVID, we didn't want people exchanging gear. So we were in full military garb this year. I was in a full military vest. I was in a military helmet. You can check out the picture of me on Twitter at WDEV Radio Brady. So I was playing with a lot more weight here. I was carrying a lot more weight around. There was more things that I had to adjust to. So I think, given the circumstances, I was a little better this year. Still didn't hit a lot, but hot day, vest, helmet, equipment, got the reloading process down a little quicker. I think overall it was a better day this year for me than it was a year ago. Here's the dumb thing I did. Here's how I almost really hurt myself, and this is not a joke. When we were done, I had to hand my gun to somebody, right? Like, I don't remember if it was like my military chaperone who was next to me. I don't remember if it was the next shooter, but they tell you, right, to when you hand off a gun, you point your gun down. That's pretty obvious, right? You don't want your barrel pointed at somebody else. So you're handing off your barrel or handing off your gun with the barrel pointed down. I was getting ready to hand it off, and I can't remember if it was, I can't remember the scenario. It was only 5 hours ago. I don't know how I can't remember it. But nonetheless, I ended up kind of re-grabbing the gun, and I re-grabbed the barrel. The barrel I had just fired 27 shots out of. That thing, hot. Quite hot. It should be common sense also to not touch a barrel that has been smoking. But nonetheless, I ended up touching the barrel for some stupid reason, 2 minutes after I was done. Quite hot. It did not burn my hands, did not blister, luckily nothing. But yeah, that was a dumb thing that I did today. I almost made it through the whole time without hurting myself, but there you go. Almost burned my hands. Almost burned my finger pads. So if you are a gun person, my advice to you, which you already know, I'm sure, do not touch the barrel after you've shot, because I learned to realize that one the hard way. I got lucky because Nelly was that hot. So 802-585-3026, Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. Appreciate those of you who reached out yesterday, and there were a number of you who reached out to try to give me some shooting tips. I don't know that anything would have really helped me. Again, I only got the 27 shots off, 4 of 27. There were others that hit more. They may have had comparatively bad batting averages. Like if they got all 40 off, they could have gone 6 for 40. They would have beaten me, but had a lower percentage. So I don't know how many of it was like that, but there were some people up there that hit 13, hit 14. I hit 4. I was like, okay, I kind of want to hide in the corner and slink away. Luckily, I didn't have to go ice my hands after I, again, touched the smoking hot barrel. So you could have done dumber things than that on this trip, but that's up there. That's one of the dumber things you could have done. So it is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, yet luckily no blisters. I got a pitch on Sunday. I can't be having torn up fingers. This is something that is only something like a dumb ninth grader can do. Man, I had like a tech class where we had to build things, right? It was like it was kind of like a wood shop class, like something that, wood shop would have existed in the 70s or 80s. I think my parents had like wood shop as a class, at least my dad did. I had a technology class that was kind of like that. We had to use hot glue guns. I remember spraying hot glue, and the thing to do in ninth grade was everybody would just touch the hot glue. I blistered my hand really, really bad with hot glue. Like, that was really bad, and it bled for like a week. That was what I was picturing with this today. Luckily, it didn't happen. I got a pitch. I can't be having blistered fingers and bleeding all over baseballs. That hot glue gun thing was one of the dumbest things I've ever done, too. That was in ninth grade. That's a little more excusable than what I did today, but, nonetheless. Luckily, my fingers are intact, even though the people were really worried. Like the military chaperone who was around me, she's like, "Oh my God, do you need ice? Are your hands okay? Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine. I'm a moron, but I am fine." So again, you can get in on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line if you want to make fun of me about my shooting. Now, let's get to the Celtics and let's get to who's saying what.
Whoa. What did he say?
Mac Jones? Good Lord. Mel Kiper's got to slow down on this. Mac Jones ain't going to work, folks. It's not going to work. You just got to come to terms with it. It's not going to work.
They really said that?
Every damn thing is politics and race, and I'm losing my mind over it.
It's time for Who's Saying What on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Who's Saying What? Brought to you by Vermont Laser Wash. That's Central Vermont's home of unlimited car washes. If you want an unlimited car wash, well, that's perfect. $20 a month. If you want one free car wash, that's great too. Just text the word Vermont to the number 30 and then 400. Celtics getting ready for the Bucks tonight. Game 6 in Milwaukee. 7:30 is the tip-off. We've got a bunch of audio around the seas. Let's get to Jeff Goodman of Stadium. This is an interesting point. Let's hear what Goodman's got to say.
I trust the Bucks. That's what it is. I mean, they just won the title. I trust the Bucks. I don't yet trust the Celtics to win these big games, close games. They blew out a lot of teams this year in the regular season. They blew out the Nets in the first round of the playoffs. I don't think they've been in these games against teams that have this championship DNA like the Bucks do.
I think some of that is a really good point by Goodman. I don't think the Celtics have fully earned our trust yet. We just saw them blow a big lead. By the way, I heard for Mark in S6 yesterday, who was saying 14 points, not that big a lead in the NBA. 14 points in the fourth quarter is the tied for the largest blown lead, I believe, in the last 25 years, I read this morning. So, yeah, 14-point blown lead, that's a big deal. But Celtics just blew a big lead. They've blown big leads over the course of the regular season. They haven't won big yet in the playoffs with this group. I think it's fair to say that the Celtics have not earned our trust. But my question is, are we really sure that we can trust the Bucks without Chris Middleton? If they had Chris Middleton, I would trust them more. I know they won it last year, so I know there's a championship pedigree there, and I respect that. I respect the championship pedigree. But do you really trust Giannis in a big moment at the foul line? I don't. I've seen Giannis really struggle at the line. He's gotten a lot better over the course of the last year in his career. But in this series, he has struggled. Do you really trust Giannis from beyond 15 feet? I don't. So if it comes down to Giannis having to hit free throws or jump shots, I wouldn't trust that if I were on the outside. Do you trust Drew Holiday to really consistently beat you from deep? He's a career 36% three-point shooter. This is his best year. He's at 41%. So he has made improvements this year also. But I don't know that I don't trust him. I don't know that I trust him to be, better than he's always been. I look at Drew Holiday. His shot is ugly. Like I never think his shot's going in. I don't know that I trust him either. So I think that both teams have questions. Like, obviously, at this point in the series now, I'd lean Milwaukee because they have 2 chances to win 1 game. But if this game is close tonight, I understand not trusting Boston, but I wouldn't rush to crown Milwaukee either. At the free throw line, Giannis is a question. He's a question from the outside. And do I trust Bobby Portis to hit a big shot? Do I trust Grayson Allen to hit a big shot? Do I trust Wes Matthews to hit a big shot? I don't. Middleton is the guy out there that would kind of bring everything together. I'd trust this team more if Middleton was there. He's not. So while you're throwing shade at the Celtics, throw a little bit at Milwaukee too, because they certainly do have questions. Now, this is a good point also, or at least a good sounding off point by Megan Ottolini of WEEI in Boston.
These two guys have been here together all this time, making that first run together. That's how long I feel like I've been waiting. And I think the window is open right now. You are the better team than this Milwaukee team, as long as Chris Middleton is sitting on the sidelines, even if Rob Williams is sitting on your sidelines. And I think if you win this series, you get to the finals. And these two, it's time for them to go to the freaking final.
I get the frustration from Megan Ottolini. She's talking about Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. It's been over a decade since the Celtics were in the finals. I want them back there also. I think there's kind of 2 things at play here. One, she says these guys have been together for a while. It's time. So 1, do you think that Tatum and Brown are old enough and experienced enough to carry a team to the finals? That's question 1. And question 2, do you blame them for the failures in not having gotten there already previously? The first answer is yes. The latter answer is no. I don't believe it's fair for Megan Ottolini or anybody else to have an immense amount of frustration at them, at Jaylen and Jason yet. You cannot look at those 2 players as a partnership, as a failure when they are together. I do not believe that. I do believe that guys that have been in the league for 5 years like Tatum or 6 years like Brown, I believe that they can carry a team. So, I don't think you can win a conference title with a bunch of 21-year-olds. Tatum and Brown are old enough and experienced enough. I do believe the window is open. The window is open now. They're of the age and the experience level where they can take a team and run to the finals. So, yes, the window's open. But I don't think when she says it's time, that implies that, it could have been, should have been done already, and it's their fault that it hasn't been. That I'm not believing. Gordon Hayward's injury derailed chances for this team. Kyrie Irving's injuries and attitude derailed chances for this team. Kemba Walker's knee in the bubble. Kemba last year. We've had multiple years in a row here of injuries and distractions and wrenches thrown into the Celtics' plans. This team hasn't accomplished the ultimate goal yet because they've always had something from within their own organization blocking them and standing in their way. Megan Ottolini sounds frustrated that Tatum and Brown haven't gotten to the promised land yet. How could they get to the promised land when everything's been in their way? Hayward's in their way. Kyrie's in their way. Kemba's knee's in their way. Having to go to the bubble is in their way. I just don't think you can pin Celtics failures on Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Last year, Jaylen Brown had the injured wrist. He was out for the playoffs. So it goes beyond that. COVID was in their way last year. force them into a lower seed. So, yes, I just don't think it's fair to blame Tatum and Brown. Finally, some vindication out there for Marcus Smart, okay? All of you people that were bagging on Marcus Smart down the stretch for that play with 11 seconds left where, he got the ball in the inbounds pass and he drove it to the baseline and Drew Holiday blocked it from behind. Ime Udoka said nothing Smart did there was wrong.
We didn't execute as, well as we wanted to. We had some offside action, bringing a specific player on their team up into the action to get the switch. We knew how they were defending it and didn't get into it quick enough and get the ball where we wanted to. So Marcus had to go make a play. 5-second count, counting down and no timeout. So nothing to blame Marcus about that at all. It was really our lack of execution overall as a team.
Look, I knew that Ime Udoka was going to defend his guy, right? Like, he's not going to throw Marcus Smart under the bus at this point of the season publicly, but I do think that Ime Udoka is right. I do think he's being truthful. I told you yesterday, I don't think that out-of-bounds play was the worst thing in human history. Was there a better play on the board? Yeah, that I will go for. But was it a bad play or a dumb play? No, it wasn't. He gets the ball. He has what he believes is a step on Pat Connaughton. I think Connaughton did a good job to get back in the play. Smart got his shoulders square to the bucket. He thought he had a layup, and Holiday comes and makes an all-time defensive play behind him. Well, yes, maybe there was another move on the board. The move that Marcus Smart made was not a bad one as far as I'm concerned, and I'm glad that Ime Udoka recognized that, and I'm glad that Ime Udoka decided to say that publicly here. Again, didn't expect him to throw his guy under the bus, but I'm glad he publicly supported him. We do have some breaking news here locally on the sports front. The UVM women's lacrosse team season is over. Yesterday, we had Sarah Dalton-Graddick on the show. She's a Vermont native, led the Catamounts to their first ever NCAA tournament, their first ever America East tournament title. They were beaten today by Denver. A game just went final. Final score 16-3. So certainly not the performance or the showing that UVM would have wanted. A tough one today, but they do bring home some hardware, and no one can ever take that away from them. Catamounts get to the NCAA tournament and lose to Denver today. Catamount men are going to take on Maryland. That's going to be Sunday at noon. The Norwich men will play in the NCAA tournament. That will be tomorrow at 1. They'll take on Tufts. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. When we come back, Patriots Schedule. Where's the soft spot? I'll tell you where the Pats need to clean up in 2022. That's next on DEV.
Northfield Savings Bank is proud to sponsor WDEV at 90. Whether you're a builder, a maker, or a doer, at Northfield Savings Bank, we are proud to be the bank for Vermonters and Vermont businesses. Find out more about us at nsbvt.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
How well does your garden grow? Tune in Saturdays at 12:30 for In the Garden with Peter Burke. Peter and co-host Joel Nashman give you 1 full hour of the latest news, helpful tips, and your calls to talk about what's happening in your garden. It's brought to you in part by Bees Flowers and Garden Shop. Flowers, hanging baskets, potting supplies, and more in Waitsfield. In the Garden with Peter Burke. Live Saturdays at 12:30. Hear the podcast anytime at WDEVradio.com.
It's gifting season for grads, moms, and dads, and you can give them a unique experience through the Waterbury Adventure Challenge. Join them to follow clues, solve riddles, and discover local treasures. Plus, you could win the $500 grand prize. It's the perfect present for anyone who loves puzzles, crosswords, Wordle, history, or exploration. Have someone who's hard to shop for? Waterbury bucks can be used like cash at over 50 businesses around town, so they can pick out their own present and shop local. Plus, they're now available for purchase at Bridgeside Books. Learn more about these great gift ideas at discoverwaterbury.com. Discover all that Waterbury has to offer.
Anytime is the right time for ice cream. Ben & Jerry's Waterbury Scoop Shop has all your favorite flavors available to be scooped into a cup, a freshly baked waffle cone, a hot fudge sundae, blended into a milkshake, or even packed to create the most delicious ice cream cake ever. So many Ben & Jerry's flavors to choose from, including our iconic lineup, non-dairy options, and for your four-legged pals, our doggy desserts. We're open every day. Give us a call, swing by, or order online online. Easy curbside pickup available. Your taste buds will thank you. Peace, love, and ice cream from Ben & Jerry's.
The 13th Annual Central Vermont Job Fair, Wednesday, June 1st from 10 until 3 at the Barry Auditorium. This is the second largest regional job fair in the state with over 60 companies from manufacturing, construction, healthcare, retail, services, and hospitality, seeking employees for open positions. Hosted by Central Vermont Economic Development, Creative Workforce Solutions, and the Department of Labor, with additional support from Northfield Savings Bank and Community National Bank. More info at centralvtjobfair.com.
Are you worried about your paycheck or safety at work? The U.S. Department of Labor wants to make sure you're protected and paid properly. Call us at 866-487-WAGE or visit worker.gov.
As Vermonters, we know that so much depends on the weather. When you need a reliable local weather forecast, it's literally at your fingertips with the WDEV weather phone. Locally dial 244-1172 or toll free at 1-800-585-1211. Roger Hill's weather forecast is just a phone call away on the WDEV weather phone, 244-1172 or 1-800-585-1211.
Your chance to be part of the show is on the text line at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Red Sox Baseball coming up just after the top of the hour, 7:05 with the pregame show as the Sox go to Arlington to take on the Texas Rangers. You can get in on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line, 802-585-3026. I've got thoughts on the Patriots schedule I want to get into now. Schedule was released last night. The Patriots, like they did last year, are going to have to clean up in the middle portion of their schedule. Like, if they're going to be good, that's where they have to do their damage. Week 5 is a home game against the Lions. That should be a team that you can beat. Week 6 at Cleveland. We have no idea what will happen with Deshaun Watson, but you beat that team like 45-3 last year or something like that. Like, that could be a win for you. With Watson, they're probably better. Without Watson, you're clearly better. That could be a win. Week 7, Patriots home against the Bears, Monday Night Football. As exciting as Justin Fields is, I got to trust that Bill Belichick against a young quarterback and a rookie head coach in prime time is going to go my way. Week 8, Patriots are at the Jets. Week 9, home against the Colts. That's tough. Week 10 bye week. Week 11 home against the Jets. That's a stretch right there. You have got to go 4-1 through. Okay? Home Lions at Cleveland. Home Bears at Jets. Home Colts. Home Jets. That is a stretch you have got to go. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, that's a stretch you've got to go 5-1 through. I miscounted. You've got to go 5-1 through that stretch. You can lose to Cleveland. You could lose to Indy. You cannot lose to both. This is where the Patriots have to do their damage. Beat the Lions, beat the Bears, beat the Jets, beat the Jets. That's 4 wins you got to have, and you got to get 1 of Indy and Cleveland. It's that simple. The rest of your schedule is pretty darn hard. You need to go 5-1 through that 6-game stretch. There are games they can win through the rest of their schedule, but overall, I think they've got a pretty tough schedule. You start with 2 on the road, you end on the road. You've got more road games than home games this year. It's tough. It's always tough. It's the NFL, but it will be tough for you this year. The end of season, wow. The end of season for New England presents a lot of challenges. There's multiple reasons. There's multiple challenges that are there. But your final 6 weeks, I would not want to run this gauntlet if I were Bill Belichick and company. Week 13 at Buffalo, home against Buffalo, home game on Thursday Night Football. Then Monday night at Arizona, long trip. Then you've got to stay out west for a second week because you take on Vegas in week 15. Vegas looks to be much better. So a long trip. You got to stay out west for 2 weeks. You get Vegas on a short week following your Monday night game against Arizona. Then you've got another short week because you play Cincy on Saturday at home. You're playing them on Christmas Eve. Then you play Miami at home on New Year's Day, and then you end at Buffalo. Like, you're playing on holidays. You're playing in prime time. You're playing at non-traditional times. You're playing on short weeks. It's just an odd stretch of games against really difficult opponents. So even as daunting as the beginning of the season looks, I think the end looks far more daunting. You got to go 5-1 through that 6-game stretch. I think in order to make the playoffs, the Patriots have to win at least 9 games. Okay? Last year they won 10, went 10-7. You've got to win at least 9 games to get to the playoffs here in New England. So I just gave you 5 games you got to win, right? Detroit, the Jets twice, the Bears, and one of Cleveland and in Indy. You got to win those. You got to win 5 games there. Where can you find 4 more? I think you got to beat Pittsburgh in week 2. That would be 6. You got to find a way to beat Miami once. That would be 7. And then you start looking, where else are those wins coming from? At the end of the year, can you beat Buffalo once? Can you beat Minnesota on Thanksgiving? Can you beat can you get Vegas? Can you get Arizona? I would say Arizona is possible. But I just found you 7 wins. Can you find 2 to 3 more? That is going to be hard. This is a difficult schedule. I know everybody says their schedule is difficult, and everybody's optimism is high at this point of an offseason, so every team looks good on paper, and it's not going to be that way, when we get to next season and teams deal with injuries, etc. But if you are the Patriots, you're looking at a tough schedule right now. Last year they had an easy one. They won 10 games. This year, significantly harder. 802-585-3026. I have a question for the room here. If you could choose one Patriots road game to go to and one Patriots home game to go to, what would you choose? What would you choose? If you could go to one Patriots home game and one Patriots road game, which games would you be most interested in going to? I asked Freddie Coleman these questions earlier in the week. I agree with both of his answers. After careful consideration, I agree with both of his answers. Road game, if I'm a fan looking to go to one road game, it'd have to be the Green Bay game, wouldn't it? Zach Cox said the same thing to us an hour ago. Freddie Coleman says it. He said it to me on Wednesday.
Well, the leading candidate for me would be Green Bay because Lambeau Field is historic, and you get a chance to see Aaron Rodgers play. So nothing against Las Vegas. You can go to Las Vegas anytime, whether it's a football game, a hockey game, a basketball game, Cirque du Soleil, whatever that's going to be. But to have a chance to go on the hallowed ground of Lambeau Field, where you can probably feel the ghosts of Vince Lombardi and Bart Starr and Ray Nitschke and Willie Davis and all those guys, that to me is that St. Peter facility. That's where I'm concerned.
Yeah, if I were a Pats fan looking to go to one road game, I'd want it to be the Green Bay game. It's week 4. That's early October. It might start to feel like football by then, and you get a chance to see Aaron Rodgers. The Patriots don't ever play at Lambeau. They go there approximately once every 8 years, so to go there, period, is a very rare thing. To see Aaron Rodgers, the multi-time MVP, that's something I'd want to see. It's a harder game to win in Green Bay, but from an experience standpoint, it's an experience that you can't replicate. To Freddie's point, I can go to Vegas anytime I want. It doesn't have to be a football game for me to go to Vegas. Minnesota's a cool place, but late November, I'll probably pass. Also, the Viking Stadium is an indoor stadium. I also would like my Thanksgiving to be free of travel. I could go to Miami anytime and enjoy it. I don't need to go hang out with the senior citizens in Arizona. Pittsburgh and Cleveland don't appeal to me. it comes down to just Green Bay in that spot. I'm taking Green Bay. If I could go to one game as a fan, Green Bay would be the one that I go to. Question 2, 802-585-3026, Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. If you could go to one home game on the Patriots schedule, what would it be? This one was tougher for me, but after careful consideration, it's got to be the Bengals game. It's going to be the end of the year. It's week 16, so it's going to be cold in Foxborough. It's Christmas Eve, so I'm better to travel on Christmas Eve to a game than I am on Thanksgiving night. So the holiday thing, I'll take Christmas Eve game over that. That's a 1:00 game. It's a Saturday. It's Christmas Eve. I can get away with going there then. But just I want to see Joe Burrow. All the quarterbacks that are coming to town this year, I want to see Joe Burrow the most. I want to see him more than Lamar Jackson. I want to see him more than Josh Allen. I want to see Joe Burrow. I want to see the team that went to the Super Bowl last year, the quarterback that led them there, the quarterback that a lot of people think that maybe Mac Jones might be able to grow into. And I want to see the quarterback that has all that swag. I think seeing the Bengals would be the most fun of any team. The Bears game is up there. Seeing the Bears play would be good too. Monday Night Football, compare Justin Fields to Mac Jones, get the conversation going about the guy that you'd rather have. That would be fun. Last year, I was so in on Fields, and I still would rather have Fields than Mac Jones. But last year, I was so in on Fields. I would have said him in a landslide, but we all became so in on Burrow that now I got to change my answer to him. That's the guy that I want to see come to town. Freddie Coleman, ESPN, he agreed with me also. Well, actually, I guess I agreed with him.
Joe Burrow, because a lot of people look at him as the second coming of Tom Brady, especially getting the Cincinnati Bengals to a Super Bowl championship and coming that close in only his second year. And nothing against Lamar Jackson, because he's definitely must-see TV as well. But there's something about Joe Burrow that you look at him and you say, yep, that's a guy who I can't take my eyes off of, because he's always going to seemingly make a play. You always feel that he's a play away from making a big play for Cincinnati. And
that's the guy I want to see. Yep, of all the quarterbacks that are coming to town, Joe Burrow is the one that I want to see most. Justin Fields, I really am excited for. As much as I hate watching him now because he's so good, Josh Allen, I like watching him play. As much as I hate what he does to the Pats, Joe Burrow is the guy. That if I had tickets to one game, that would be the guy. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Red Sox Baseball comes up about 25 minutes from now. On the other side of the commercial break, would Yankee fans rather see Aaron Judge play for the Mets or the Red Sox in the future? That may be the dumbest question that I've heard ever about Yankee rivalries. I'll give you the answer, and I'll tell you why it's such a stupid question. That's next on WDEV.
Spring is here, which means athletes and outdoor enthusiasts are hitting the fields, tracks, and trails in preparation for summer play. Hello, I'm Dr. Kevin McNamara, a podiatrist at Mansfield Orthopedics. As you gear up for outdoor activities, let's not forget about your feet. For more than 30 years, I've been caring for people and their feet. Sometimes the care is an easier fix, other times treatment is long-term or may involve surgery. In addition to sports medicine, I care for many common foot ailments, from corns, bunions, and plantar fasciitis, to more serious issues including diabetic foot complications, wounds, and infections. Some of the more common sports injuries I care for include sprains, foot and toe fractures, heel pain, Achilles, and other tendon injuries. For more information on Copley Hospital's foot care program, or to schedule an appointment with me, Dr. McNamara, or my colleagues, call 802-888-8405 or visit mansfieldorthopedics.com.
70% of the Fortune 100 choose Zoom. With phone, chat, workspaces, apps, events, and video in a single platform, Zoom powers all your communications. Large enterprises, small businesses, and individuals use the secure Zoom platform to enable new ways of working, learning, hosting events, and supporting their customers. And now you can save 15% on meetings, chat, and phone with a Zoom United bundle. Visit zoom.com/bundle. Zoom, how the world connects.
You could unlock more cash than you realize from your home's equity with a cash-out refinance today. In the last year, average home values have gone up nearly 20%. And with Rocket Mortgage, you could unlock thousands in less than 3 weeks. But you've got to act right now before rates go up. So when you're looking to unlock the cash in your home, Rocket can. Call 833-8-ROCKET today or go to rocketmortgage.com to get started.
Rates current as of 12/12/21. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. MLS Consumer Access.org. Number 3030. Call 800-490-1233 for disclosures and cost information.
Critical race theory did not spring out of the ground last summer when George Floyd died. And so hopefully we can kind of retrograde define critical race theory all the way back as kind of a continuous 250-year project that's been in development, which is a big difference from George Floyd died and the world went crazy.
A symposium on critical race theory and transgenderism by two nationally recognized figures, Dr. James Lindsay and Dr. Nicholas Merriweather, on Friday, May 13th at 7 p.m. for a dinner and lecture with panel discussions and additional lectures on Saturday, May 14th, 9 a.m. For details, go to vtgrassroots.com. That's vtgrassroots.com. Again, vtgrassroots.com.
This has been brewing for a while. Critical race theory got its name in 1989.
Most families in the central Vermont area are needed to house the players of your Vermont Mountaineers. If you have space in your home, please consider becoming a host. All players are fully vaccinated and boosted. Players will have their own transportation and dinner is provided on game nights. What's in it for you? How about free season tickets and free baseball camps for kids or grandkids? If interested, email host families at thevermontmountaineers.com.
Go, 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 Mountaineers. Congratulations to Will Sipsey of Lincoln, our latest winner from the WDEV Fairness to Fans machine.
Excellent. This is Will Sipsey from Lincoln, Vermont. I just want to say that I have a rebuilt LaRue Brothers transmission in my 1999 Dodge 250 Ram. It is a great transmission.
No purchase is necessary. The next drawing is Thursday, May 19th. Fill out an entry form at WDEVradio.com. The Fairness to Fans machine, maintained by LaRue Brothers Transmissions of Barton, only on WDEV. Make your opinion heard by texting onto the Brady Farkas Show at 802-585-3026.
This is Freddie Coleman of ESPN, and you're listening to Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Thank you very much for that intro, Freddie. Red Sox baseball, 20 minutes from now. Sox taking on the Texas Rangers. First pitch is 8:05. We'll have the lineups for you about 5 minutes from now. But Chris Carlin of ESPN Radio is a really smart guy, and a guy that I really like really, really like him. And I actually met him one time very briefly, and he was very, very nice. He asked a question which I find to be one of the more silly questions that I've heard in recent memory. It was birthed out of this idea that if Aaron Judge leaves the Yankees, where would Yankee fans be more upset by him going?
And I threw out this question, hey, if Aaron Judge ends up going somewhere else, where as a Yankee fan would you rather see him go? Would you rather see him go to the Red Sox or to the Mets?
That is what we call a silly question. Remember how in school they would say there are no such things as stupid questions? This is a stupid question. If you are a Yankee fan and Aaron Judge were inclined to leave, you would 1,000,000% rather see him play for the Mets than the Red Sox. Like, with the Mets, he can't beat you directly very often. With the Red Sox, he can. As a fan, I don't care about who's winning the back page. Okay, if the Mets get Aaron Judge, they may start winning the back page. I'll take it back if I can win a World Series. Like, I don't care about the back page. I care about who wins the game. And if Aaron Judge leaves the Yankees, and I'm a Yankee fan, he'd have 19 opportunities to beat me while playing for the Red Sox. He'd had like 7 opportunities to beat me with the Mets. This is a simple math equation. That's it. If Aaron Judge was going to leave, he could go to the National League with the Mets and I wouldn't care as much. I'd still be upset. I don't want him playing anywhere but my team. But if he goes to the Mets, he's in the National League. I don't have to see him in the playoffs. He doesn't stunt my path to the World Series. He can only play me 7 times a year. And with the Red Sox, he can play me 19 times a year. I have no interest at all. Forget the rivalry even for a second. Him going to a division team and blocking me both in the division and, in the potential in the playoffs, no interest in that. Absolutely zero interest. I could give 2 blanks if the Mets got Judge and started winning the tabloid battle, started winning the back page of the Post. Matters nothing to me. If Aaron Judge goes to the Red Sox, as a Yankee fan, I'd be furious because now not only did I lose him, you've now got him and I'm going to be beaten with him. That would be terrible. That would be like worst case scenario type stuff there. Real quick, interesting comment today. Actually, I don't know if it was that interesting. Brian O'Halloran, Red Sox general manager. Remember, Chaim Bloom is the chief baseball officer. He's not technically the general manager. That's Brian O'Halloran. So Brian O'Halloran was on WEEI in Boston today, and he was talking about Xander Bogaerts. Let's hear this.
Let me start by saying this. We hope Xander's here for a long time. Xander's an incredible player, and he's been a Red Sox his whole career, and we hope that continues to be the case. We're not, I don't think Xander is, and we're not focused on, what happens at the end of the season. We're focused on what's happening during the season. He's playing really well, and we hope he's here for a long time.
Yeah, I don't know if that's that interesting. I'm glad at least that O'Halloran was asked the question, but I don't know if it was that interesting of content, really. Nothing really surprised me. He said they want him here. I'm sure they do, but just at their price. He said they aren't going to think about it now. That doesn't shock me, considering that both sides have said they don't prefer to negotiate, or they prefer not to negotiate in season. I keep reading more and more about how Bogaerts won't be in Boston next year. We'll see. I do think the team will have a good spin job here. They either need to make Bogaerts a legitimate offer, or they'll just keep lowballing him so that they can say that they tried and they make Bogaerts look like the bad guy. And that's what I fear is going to happen. They've offered him this 1 year, $30 million extension. That to me is a nothing offer. It's not even an offer. It's just to placate the fans where you say, hey, we tried. And he was greedy. And he left because he wanted more. I think you got to make him a real offer. That clip didn't do a whole lot for me. I appreciate that the question was asked, but yes, of course he's going to say we want him here. Doesn't surprise me. He said we're not doing anything right now with it, and then we move on. But yeah, we hope he's here forever. Well, yeah, we all hope he's here forever. So we'll see. Make a real offer and show me that you wish he was here, that he's here forever. That's what you can do. Red Sox are taking on the Rangers. We'll have the lineups in a second, but this is a stretch where if the Red Sox are going to turn it around, it has to start here. I think the earliest you can declare a team's season done is Memorial Day. I don't think you can declare a team dead for a season until Memorial Day. The Red Sox have like 17 days to kind of make themselves more relevant and to keep themselves in it. This is where it has to start. The Texas Rangers are under 500. They're only 2.5 games better than you. They have some big names, but they don't have a very deep lineup, and they have no pitching. You've got to be able to take at least 2 of 3 here. You are good enough to sweep this team. Then you go to Houston. They've won 10 straight. I imagine you'll struggle there. Then you come home for Seattle for 4, and I think Seattle's going to be in a real bad way by the time they get here. They're already 4 games under 500. They're going to go to the Mets. They're going to go to Toronto. I think they're going to get hit around, and I think you're going to have a chance to really capitalize. So 7 games of your next 10 are very winnable. Houston for 3, or Texas for 3, Seattle for 4. Very winnable games. If you're going to turn it around, this is the week and a half that's going to do it for you. I don't think they'll beat Houston. I don't think they'll win the series with Houston, But if you can win 2 here, 1 there, be 3 and let's see, if you can win 2 here, then you'd be 3-3, and then you get Seattle for 4, and you win 3 of 4, and all of a sudden you've taken 6 of 10. That would be pretty good. If you go 6-4 in the next 10, now all of a sudden you're much more relevant again. And at least you've kept yourself interesting as we trend towards Memorial Day. All right, let's get the lineup. The Sox are 11-20. The Rangers are 13-17. First pitch is 8:05. Our pregame show is 10 minutes from now. Nick Pivetta is on the mound for the Sox, 0-4 with a 6.08 ERA. But remember how good he was last time out against the White Sox. Dane Dunning, former White Sox pitcher, he's on the mound for the Rangers, 1-1 with a 3.38. Lineup: Kike Hernandez is in center, still 1 homer, 12 ribbies. Devers at third, 313 average with 5 home runs. JD Martinez has 15 RBIs. He's DHing, hitting third at 298. The aforementioned Xander Bogaerts, he's at shortstop, hitting 345, just 10 ribbies, though. Alex Verdugo's hitting 216. He's in left. Trevor Story's over the Mendoza line at 206. He's at second. Franchi Cordero is at first, hitting 190. Christian Vasquez is up over 200 at 215 with a homer and 6 ribbies. Jackie Bradley Jr., he does the honors in right field. He bats ninth, hitting 198. As for the Rangers, Brad Miller leads off. He's in left field. Marcus Semien, remember the guy we all wanted the Red Sox to go get? Marcus Semien hitting 165 with no homers and 8 ribbies. Well, he's at second base. Corey Seager, he of the 10 for 325 contract. He's at shortstop, 7 home runs for him. Adolis Garcia was an all-star last year for the Rangers. He's hitting 202, but he does have 18 RBI. Veteran right fielder Cole Calhoun is the guy in the 5 spot. The catcher is Jonah Heim. He's having a great start to the year at 327. Nathaniel Lowe is the first baseman, hitting 243. Nick Solak, he of the former Vermont Mountaineers fame, hitting 228. He's the DH. And Andy Ibanez is the third baseman. He bats ninth. There's a Rangers lineup there with some thump, but not a lot of depth. This is the time for the Red Sox to get going. Again, you want to stave off my Memorial Day burial? That's the earliest you can be buried in a baseball season. If the Red Sox are way out of it by then, they just might hit that fate. This is where they turn it around. This is where a comeback for this season starts. On the road against a team that's 4 games under 500, you've got a chance to go take 2 out of 3 or to sweep. You've got to do it. Red Sox baseball is next. Go Celtics tonight. That game tips off about a half hour from now as well. We'll see you right back here on Monday. Red Sox baseball next, right here on WDEV, AM and FM, WDEVradio.com, and always streaming on the WDEV app.
Do you know what people see when they Google you? Search engines don't always get it right. And when they're wrong, it's your